Welcome to Fighting Words. Mike Straka along with Mike Urata, the MadLab. Man, Aljamain Sterling looks so good, Mike. What a fight. And I don't know what the judges were watching because I had Aljo up 3-1 going into the fifth. So I'm not sure where they got a split decision. What do you think on that one?
I had a 3-1 going into the fifth, too. I know a lot of people were making an issue with Cleary with the fifth round, but then I was making the argument saying, well, you can make the argument for Cleary, but what about the other guy who judged it the other way? That was the issue. So I had it 3-1. I score everything real time on Twitter. I had it 3-1. There were close rounds. There were some really close rounds, but I don't see where people thought that that Cejudo won that fight. I think the issue which was shocking to me and insulting to me, to be honest with you, because I'm a Jersey guy, how Aljo wasn't a pro Aljo crowd. That was crazy to me.
Well, listen, if there's anybody out there who knows what went on Saturday night, it's Ray Longo. Ray, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks, guys. And man, you guys are hitting on some really good points. Mike, I'll tell you, it's funny. I just got off the phone with Aljo, and I told him the same thing you said about the Cleary card. Anybody saying anything about that, you got to go to the other judge. They're assuming that judge got it right, but that judge fucked it up. And I had it. I could make a case for 4-1 going into the fifth. You know what I mean? Because that round was close. That even Henry knows he lost that fight. Just watched his reaction video. He's trying to go, well, if I was even going into the fifth, then I won because this guy gave it to Aljo. Yeah, that's not the way to look at it. The way to look at it is what about the other guy that scored it completely wrong? Why is he off the hook?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I always compare Aljo with Dustin Poirier. Both those guys were young when they got into the UFC. And, you could tell early on in their careers, especially in big fights, I'm not saying choking, but, they were hesitant. They really weren't themselves. And you've been saying, Ray, for years that the Aljo you see in training, I think we're finally seeing that Aljo in the octagon. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, we're finally seeing this much of it.
I'm
telling you, I just got off the phone and go, Aljo, you let that motherfucker off the hook, man. I think you could have pieced him up so much even more. But he is a wrestler. That's what he likes to do, and he fights smart. He's an intelligent fighter, and he fights with even with the theory of prolonging his career as long as it could go too.
Yeah.
Whereas he said it in the press conference. You want to see pay-per-view fights, the sparring between some of the 55ers we have. We're so deep in that division that he's right. The sparring is unbelievable. Frevola is one of them. You saw the results he got with Drew Dober. So
first one to knock Frevola, first one to knock Dober out in 12 years.
Crazy.
12 years.
Crazy. Yeah, he's coming off 3 first-round knockouts. I mean, so you got to start looking at him too. So I'm proud of everybody. But the Aljo thing is look, he's going to go. It's like the punchline to a joke. Some guys get it right away. Some guys get it a week later. Some guys never get it. But he's getting it, but it's taking time. And the more confident he gets, I think that's why you're seeing some of the arsenal in his game now. But and I think it'll only get better as he goes forward because he's healthy and he's remaining intact, which is important. The other thing with the Jersey crowds, you guys could tell me this. One of the theories somebody told me was that Jersey we know this for a fact, is a huge wrestling state, and
yeah.
Henry is an icon for what he did as a kid in wrestling. So maybe that had something to do with it, but I don't even know.
There's no excuse for that.
There's no excuse for that. Look, Frevola got cheered.
Even down here in Florida, man, I was talking to a dude Saturday afternoon. And he was from New York. They came in my restaurant. They were the 4 guys from New York, and one guy had a Tua Tavolasi shirt on. So I was like, "Hey, who do you like tonight?" He goes, "I like Cejudo." He goes, "But I'm from New York. I really should be going for the hometown guy." And I'm like, "Why wouldn't you go for Aljo?" I said, "I got Aljo in this fight," and I did. I won money all around because I picked Aljo, and all my friends are picking Henry. I'm like, "You guys got the wrong Henry Cejudo." I mean, I think the layoff hurt him a little bit. Not to take anything away from Aljo, Ray.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, and I agree with not to take anything away from Aljo, but like the tapes I looked at him, he just looked way slower that night. Well, in real time, while I was sitting there, he was having trouble breaking that distance and getting near Aljo, and telegraphing his punches a little bit. So
he got wild too for a while.
yeah,
And he was sucking wind early.
Yeah, but you know what? That's an issue. Obviously, the time off, but it's also a testament to Aljo's style because I have not picked against Aljo in a long time. I picked him in Yan 1, I picked him in Yan 2, and the reason why I picked him in Yan 2 very confidently was it was a mental thing. All the shit that Aljo was going through from the fans, from the people, you shouldn't have won that fight. He's going to murder you this time. And I saw Yan mentally unravel in that first fight. He kind of mentally unraveled with that knee. You're not a champion and you're not that high level and you don't know the rules. So Aljo's mentality just to stay firm and stay focused and stay on course, that was one thing that impressed me. But another thing is with the layoff, on top of that layoff, you have a style in Aljo that if you're not on your time, if you don't have your timing down, you're not going to lay a beat on him. You're not going to lay a beat on him.
You can't emulate him. You can't find anybody in a camp that's going to do what Aljo. I mean, it's almost like trying to get somebody to emulate Izzy. It's really hard.
Yeah, and I call it lost in translation. Aljo loses you in translation wherever he goes because you really don't know what he's doing next. He's kind of like a freestyle fighter. He kind of dictates his motions within the moment.
I think you guys are dead on, man. Literally dead on with everything. Yeah, and that one of the things that makes me happy, even with with all of these fights, you can't emulate him. Is true. That's what you got going in there. He's hard to pick up patterns, because even he doesn't know. You know what I mean? That's right. I told myself, I think at one point he was just trying new shit in there. Like he never felt threatened. He was never threatened in there.
Right.
Cejudo never had any momentum, and Henry said he's a hard guy. His head's all over the place. He's looking one way, he's kicking you the other way. He's tough,
I used to say about Ronda Rousey, people didn't come in to watch the fight to see if she was going to win. They came in to watch the fight to see how fast she was going to win. And I think about Ray Longo and Matt Serra in the corner. People come in, I think they're more entertained with what you guys say in the corner than they are of the actual fight. I mean, I tune in and I cannot wait to hear what you guys have to say because it is hilarious.
Yeah, it's always good to keep it light, but I don't know. It's funny, but thanks for that.
One of the greatest lines is when Weidman was fighting Anderson. He said, "Punch a hole through his fucking chest."
Yeah, sometimes I just, honestly, sometimes I just lose my shit emotionally. Wait, let me shut this door because this dog's killing me. Hold on.
All right. Hey, Mike. I just enjoy Matt Serra, and you could tell Matt Serra's voice from across the whole.
I was just gonna say that you can hear him in the rafters.
Yeah. Oh, fucking beautiful, beautiful. You're okay. You're okay.
Yeah.
Breathe. I remember when he coached the Ultimate Fighter, Matt, and the whole time he's like, beautiful. You're okay. Beautiful.
Yeah. You remember J-Rock doing the interview?
I do, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Breathe. Oh, yes.
You're okay. You breathe. You're okay. I just love it. I love Matt Serra.
Mike, we got to go back and look at some of those interactions between you two guys. How many years ago was that?
Good 15 years ago. But I did fuck up 15 years of great rapport. Remember that horrible joke I made at the press conference for the whatever that energy drink was, and I said to Matt, "How's it feel being irrelevant at a UFC event?" And I was waiting for him to be like, "How's it feel wearing lifts, Straka, you short motherfucker?" I thought he'd come back at me, and then later on, I saw you guys at Mandalay Bay, and you were like, "Straka, what the fuck was that?" I was like, "Oh shit, I was just trying to make a joke. I thought Matt was going to come back at me, and I was going to be, take the fall, but he didn't. He got offended. I felt so bad, Ray, so bad."
Man, I don't even remember that.
Well, good, thank God, because I remember it. There's only a few times I was in fear of my life. That was one of them. And one time I questioned Anderson Silva at UFC. I think it was 97 in Montreal. He was fighting Talos Lattes, and it was a horrible fight.
He was tough.
Yeah, but I questioned Anderson. I'm like, how come you have a problem fighting Brazilians? I mean, every time you fight a Brazilian, you never pull the trigger. And then Chuck Liddell started yelling at me, and I was like, oh man, this is not going to end well for me, man. I got Anderson and Chuck, and don't forget all their camps. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm too little to be fucking with those guys.
That's funny, man.
Yeah.
Ray, what are your thoughts on the? I mean, who stole the show after that fight was Merab, man. I mean, was that the most classic thing you've ever seen?
Kid, you would just fall in love with him. Trust me. But he was like a little spoiled kid running around the octagon with the guy's coat.
Oh my
They're
God.
chasing him. They're trying to get him off the top of the octagon. He's hitting their hands away. He's funny, man. What a great guy. Humble, just a great human being, that guy. And he did steal the show with that jacket.
Oh, it was the greatest thing I've ever seen. I mean, literally, it was like a Michael Jackson Thriller jacket. He's on top of the cage.
Yeah. He's up there egging the crowd on. Come on. He's funny. I thought that was hysterical.
What are your thoughts on the weight movement for Aljo? Is that more dictated towards Merab, their friendship, or is that something he's getting a little bit older? He doesn't want to cut the weight no more. He wants to give it a shot up at a higher weight.
Hey, good question. I'm gonna say I think it's a little of both. He definitely wants to see Merab fight for that title. They're really close. And he does have trouble, not trouble, but I think he'd like to test the waters at 45 and see. But I think after the O'Malley fight, but I think it's a little more. I'm even leaning more towards Merab.
Speaking of the O'Malley thing, I did not like what they did after the fight. I feel like they didn't give Aljo his moment.
Without a doubt, again, I just went through this. He doesn't even know he's in the ring. He turns around, the guy's hovering over him like a stalker. Like, he just gets done with his interview. They could have set it up a little better, let him, greet him coming into the ring, but kind of just shoved it. They shoved him in there on him.
I feel like they did the same thing to George St. Pierre and Matt Hughes when George said, I wasn't impressed with your performance. I talked to George after that moment, and he said, Mike, they just put me in there. They didn't tell me what to say. They didn't tell me what to do. And next thing you know, they shoved me in the cage, and I'm face to face with Matt Hughes. And I think that happened here as well with O'Malley. Like,
Rogan noticed it. Joe Rogan noticed it because he actually had a little side comment when he approached Aljo after, like it kind of took your moment away.
Yeah, 100%. I told him when I was in that, I told O'Malley, let the guy have his fucking time. I mean, he just got done with a crazy fight, split decision, like that wreck. When I heard split decision, I wanted crazy. I actually wanted to kill somebody. I go, please do not fuck this kid out of this win, man. I just was. So I was just zoned out just on that. It took me a while to get back, but yeah, I thought that was a little. They could have set that up way better. Let the guy talk, and then set it up, bring him in, whatever. But they kind of just stuffed him in there. Like, again, Henry's taking his gloves off in the corner. We don't know what's going on there. And they got O'Malley in there, dressed like a fucking Christmas tree. Yeah, it was crazy, man. Still.
You know what I think about the like a lot of people went on Twitter. I think what made the public perception on the TV end of it think it was a little closer than it was if you listen to you in the corner. This is one thing that I even said on Twitter right after that round. You listen to you in your corner. A cardinal rule is, I don't got to tell you, is you never tell your fighter if he's up, ever. You especially in a close fight. When they went to Cejudo's corner, they were telling him he was winning the fight. So the public if you go back and watch that, they tell him that he was up in rounds. So if you watch that, the public perception with a lot of the new kids that are coming in, that, from Conor McGregor up, they don't really stand how to score fights and what they're looking at. So they're looking at public perception and saying, well, Cejudo's corner is they literally were telling him they were winning the fight. And I even tweeted, cardinal sin. I don't give a shit if it's a close fight. You never tell your fighter he's up. So that could have been a reason why people thought it was closer than it was.
That's crazy. And I would have felt bad if he lost because I didn't feel the need to even, dude, you got to knock him out. You got to win. And I thought we were like, I thought the fight was close. I just couldn't see how you could give any of those rounds to Sue. I just couldn't do it. And it was.
And even when he took Aljo down, there was no damage done.
Done zero, and it was 10 seconds the last one I looked at. I don't know.
Ray, how beautiful was that switch?
Oh yeah, no, that was listen, you got to give it up to Aljo.
Absolutely.
I said to him, I go, don't buy it. Listen, the gold medal was 50 years ago anyway. You know what I mean? Like, wrestling's a hard sport to stay up on top like that. Like, you can't put Cejudo in there with any of those national champs. Now he'll get killed. I mean, things change. Aljo's really evolved. Like he said, he started wrestling in 10th grade. He's probably still getting better. You know what I mean? He focuses a lot on the wrestling. And MMA wrestling is different than that type of wrestling.
It is. I would love to see Cejudo fight Steve Rivera's son, Sebastian Rivera.
Oh, yeah.
That kid, man. what a stud that kid is, man. I mean, granted, Steve Rivera's his father, and Steve's been teaching him how to wrestle since the kid could walk.
Yeah.
But man, he is so great. I know you don't like to talk about this stuff, Ray, but their talk is getting loud and it's getting serious about you being inducted into the Hall of Fame as a trainer. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, I'm flattered that they talk about it, but there's a shitload of good trainers that I don't know, whatever. I'm flattered. That's all I'll say. But
All right.
it doesn't. It would be something nice, but it means absolutely nothing. I'm happy for the guys. Mike, we've been doing this shit for years now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like maybe Hall of Fame for consistency.
Well, how are
and
things?
not dropping dead yet? I'll take that.
How
Hall
are
of Fame
things
for still being around?
How are things at Ring of Combat?
Good. I'm heading there in a couple of days. I got a guy fighting for a title. I'm going to try to get him on the Contender Series. So,
what's his name?
Armando Gacha.
All right,
I'll probably pronounce it less. He's Albanian. Grew up in Italy. Speaks Italian, but he's Albanian. Great kid. Really nice kid.
What weight is he?
55.
Wow, you guys are cranking out the 55ers, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been that way since Matt Serra.
Yeah, crazy. That's why I say this thing. And think about Mike. I mean, it was UFC, I think 28.
Yeah, that's when we met. Like, I think I met you with the Shoney Carter fight in Atlantic City.
Oh, wow, man.
Wow. Right? That's 1992? I'm sorry, 2002?
I guess. I don't even know.
Maybe 2001. I don't remember, man. It was real soon after 9/11, I think.
Yeah,
man,
I think you're right. You're 100%. No, you know what? It was before 9/11.
It was before 9/11. You're right.
It
was a summer. It was in the summer.
The only fight I missed was Eves Edwards because that was right after 9/11. My family was freaking out. My kids were like 3 and 4. I couldn't leave. It was, that whole
I remember.
Ambiance. But yeah, you know what I mean? So yeah, he actually fought before 9/11. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, we go back a long way, right? It's like a
nuts.
Yeah. Anyway, listen, I know you've got things going on in your life and you're back from Vegas and I want you to get back to your family and enjoy yourself. So thanks a lot for coming on to the show, Ray. As always, it's a pleasure. Mike Urata, any parting words for the man, the myth, the legend?
I just want you to tell Aljo one thing. Tell him that his statements in his interview should be, when fighters have the answers, I change the questions. That's his style of fighting. Yep. Because if you really think about his fighting style, they think they dial him in and he switches it up.
Henry said it. He goes, I got to give it up to him. I thought he was going to be way worse. Like, I do think, look, he's not a conventional boxer, right? He doesn't have that Sugar Ray Leonard thing going on. He's the funk master, man. That's why.
But that's what makes him good. That's what made Mayorga good. Mayorga was just all over the place. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ray. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Anytime. Wait, hold on. Mayorga reminds me of Mike Perry for some reason.
Yes. Yeah. Let me tell you something. Mike Perry, he is made for bare knuckle.
100%. He should get bare knuckle tattooed on his forehead. That's all him. Hey, guys, thanks, man. Hey, Mike, it was nice catching up with you.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you're doing well. You look unbelievable.
Well, thank you.
I want to get down to that restaurant.
All right. You're more than welcome. Anytime you're in Tampa, hit me up.
All right. You guys are the best. Take it easy, guys.
All right.
Take care, man.
That's this edition of Fighting Words. Mike Straka, Mike Urata. Many thanks to Ray Longo. Until next time, enjoy the fights.